I mean, a lot of times two people get together because they are like each other, makes for the worst kinds of partners. You know, you need to have different skills and orientation typically to work well together, so you're not in each other's territory.
Well, let's just be honest. When you're sitting at the beginning and the risk is through the roof, it feels nice to have somebody else in the boat with you.
Sure,
right? Like, it's comforting to go, if this thing sinks, he or she's sinking too, and I'm not alone.
All right, we better get started.
All right, let's do this.
We don't want to waste any time of our listeners. And today, here in the studio, Eric and I have a guest, and that's Ben Cashin. How's it going, Ben?
It's going great. I'm excited to be here and excited to be on the show with you guys.
We're glad you're here. Hopefully you'll feel the same way when it's over.
No, we'll see. We'll see. I'm a little nervous after the pregame, so here we go.
As you should be.
Yeah.
No, being nervous and paranoid keeps you out of trouble.
That's right. We always give ourselves at least 45 minutes to see if we ruin a relationship.
Yeah.
There you go. That's good.
We enjoy it. But no, we're glad you're here. And this is another episode of
Big Talk about small business. And so at the end, Ben, you have to join us for the outro.
Yeah,
I can do that.
Okay, cool.
Right.
It's essential.
If I'm still here, I'll do it. If I haven't left,
that's a good point.
I'll do it.
That is a good point.
All right.
So
kicked out.
Oh gosh, I tell you. So we've got a lot to cover today, though, with Ben.
We do.
Do we have a spotlight that we can use to focus on him as we begin our interrogation?
Nobody needs
That's
that.
right. Yeah, we can do that in editing. No problem. Yeah.
All right, good. No, Ben, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you're in the coaching business. Tell us more.
Yeah, so CEO, coach, and strategist, which is a really awkward title, like at a cocktail party when people are like, I'm a banker or I'm a real estate agent. And I'm like, I'm a CEO coach. It doesn't really roll off the tongue super well. But it actually makes more sense if I'll give you just a quick bit on my background. So I always tell people, no one would ever do on purpose the career that I've done on accident. I've been a part of 4 different startups, a couple of different scaling companies, and spent, probably 2/3 of my career in the marketplace. But in the middle, I had a bizarre and wonderful experience for about 7 years as a licensed professional counselor. That was part as part of my entrepreneurial journey was I actually founded a counseling clinic.
So psychology.
Yeah, I was a licensed professional counselor, technically, but that stuff's all pretty similar buckets.
Gotcha.
So what I do today is in coaching is really a nice coming together of my marketplace experience and my time as a counselor, which is long in the rear view, but certainly skills that I still lean into today.
So what type of counseling
was going to ask that?
Yeah. So really saw 2 things primarily. One was professional men. Now this was back in like 2010, all the way through 2016. And so really counseling was a different world back then. But saw a lot of professional men. There weren't many male counselors back then.
Yeah.
And men typically wanted to see a male counselor. And so I saw a lot of professional men. And then I did a lot of marriage therapy.
Okay.
And what was great about that is over 7 years, I did around 5,000 hours of therapy.
Wow.
And just the skills that you build doing something that much, and really was the first time I sat in the seat of outside perspective, which is the same seat I sit in with CEOs, founders today. But really developed those muscles, really discovered how I can best, with my unique skill set, personality, whatever, how I can best sit in the seat of outside perspective, and really learned a ton in counseling, and really thankful for the experience. It was also it was a lot. And when it was time to move on, it was very time to move on.
Well, you probably ended your day just hearing about other people's problems and considering, not that that's a bad thing,
no,
but
you got to be uniquely wired to do that for a long time.
Yeah.
I learned a ton. I don't have any regrets about doing it, but also knew when that season was coming to a close.
I think the question, though, that all our listeners are going to want to know the answer to is, how many times have you been married?
Once.
And
for 20 years, still presently.
Yeah, man.
I love you. All right.
That's a success.
I know you probably learned a tremendous amount about just like how to deal with your own relationship.
Oh yeah, but my wife doesn't put up with it any crap from me. Like, she doesn't say this anymore, but she used to literally say, "Don't you bring your therapy stuff."
That's right.
on me. I don't want it.
That's right.
You keep that out of here.
That's unusual. Most spouses want to bring the therapy stuff on, and we're like, no, don't bother us with that.
At certain phases. When they get past that, that's dangerous, bro. When they just gave up.
That's bad.
That's when that's a good big red
We
flag.
have experience.
We sure do.
In that
A
department.
couple times. Some of us 3, 4?
Yeah, 3.
Okay. Sorry. I'm
And
sorry.
it's third time's the charm.
There you
Got it.
But that is interesting, though, I'm sure. And especially like partnerships, a lot of times in businesses, whether they're organized as partnerships or corporations or LLCs, that more than one owner, it's like being married to somebody, isn't it?
Absolutely. I'll have conversations all the time, guys, with people who want to become a coach because they are either, in a pastoral role, they are a counselor or a psychologist, and they're like, I think I want to get into coaching. And I tell them all the same thing, which is the skill set you've built will translate, but it's going to sit on top of a completely different piece of context, and you better learn that context.
Mm-hmm.
Because you might do a little bit of coaching here or there because you've got some skills you've built that you can take and give folks under the name of leadership or whatever, but you better learn their context, and you better get really serious about learning that context. Like, if you don't want to start reading books and reading articles and getting into the HBR and reading the Wall Street Journal or whatever your source is, then don't think you can become a coach.
Yeah.
Because you got to learn the context. Your skills don't get to just come over here and sit.
Yeah, just constantly growing and learning.
That's right.
Yourself, right? And I mean, and I think I like the whole counseling thing just because I think that everything in business is about relations. I mean, it's about how do you handle your relationship? How do you how do you come across? How do you not offend? How do you offend? How do you be direct? I mean, there's just so much emotion nestled within every business decision that I think it's important that, especially for our listeners, right? If you're thinking about jumping into a business, starting one, or you're trying to grow one, it comes down to that relational factor. I mean, everywhere.
I had a guy ask me a year ago, he was starting a business, and he had been talking to another guy about partnering to start it. And he said, should I take on a partner? Mm-hmm. And I was like, maybe.
Yeah,
like, maybe that could be a great thing, or maybe it could be a complete train wreck.
Exactly.
So, and he was like, well,
what's the point?
My mentor's telling me that I really should. And I was like, well, he might end up being right, or it might end up costing you thousands of dollars and years of your life. And I mean,
let's stay in that for a second, because I was telling somebody just not even a week ago about I have been blessed with great partners. I mean, I really have. I've seen with my other peers in the business community that that's not the case with everybody. Actually, it's kind of a unique experience, because I have seen some partnerships that have been absolutely devastating, even more devastating than divorces.
Yeah, well, I mean, we see it all the time. I mean, a lot of times two people get together because they are like each other, which makes for the worst kinds of partners. You need to have different skills and orientation typically to work well together, so you're not in each other's territory.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's just be honest. When you're sitting at the beginning and the risk is through the roof, it feels nice to have somebody else in the boat with you.
Sure,
right? Like,
it does.
It's comforting to go, if this thing sinks, he or she's sinking too, and I'm not alone. So that feels good. But you're trading a lot for that early on.
Well, and there's a lot of, when you're sitting in the boat with all that risk, and one of you, the goal would be is that the other person is as invested as you are, feels their back against the wall, are going to fight like hell.
Yeah, they're going at the same time and attention.
They're not looking 8 to 5. They're not talking about the next vacation and all this kind of stuff. They're engaged.
Yeah.
But the problem happens when that other person starts getting discouraged, becoming depressed, starts isolating,
distracted for any reason.
Yeah. Just tired, exhausted, worn out. They're not on the battlefield with you more. That's devastation.
Yep.
I've seen that.
The two things that I see in partnerships, and I don't work with a ton of partnerships, so I'm not trying to position myself as an absolute expert here, but I've had partners and I've worked with some partners. The two things that I see the most, number one is exactly what you just said, which is somebody retreats a little bit. They're just beat up, worn down, whatever. And
Sure.
look, man, life happens.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know.
That can happen. Yeah.
Number two, though, is vision drift. I see so much vision drift that just seeds this you know, it starts off here like we're rowing in the same direction. We want to do the same thing, but we get 7 years into the business, and all of a sudden we're in a new season. We got some people working for us. We got some opportunities that maybe we didn't have, and all of a sudden this partner wants to go that way, and this personal partner wants to go that way.
Yeah.
Well, it's not very big at first, but man, as time goes, and then you look up all of a sudden,
So true.
and you're yelling at each other, and you're arguing with each other, and you're going, "We need to do this," and the other partner's going, "No, we need to do this," and it's vision drift, man.
Yeah.
And look, both visions might be viable. They might be good. They might be profitable, but if they're different, it will really, really wreck that partnership over time.
You know, how do you mitigate that, or how do you navigate that vision drift? Because I mean, if you see that real early on, I mean, the optimal thing is to catch it really soon.
Yeah.
Right. Just like in a marriage, right? If you start splitting a little bit, how do you bring that back in? I mean, one thing I think about is just go have more time together as partners, right?
Absolutely. And you gotta fight like hell for alignment. You've got to fight for alignment, and over and over and over again. And the problem is the first 90% of alignment, I'm making up a statistic here, by the way, guys.
We're all about that.
For anecdotal, we got it. Yeah, fine. No
First
problem.
90% of alignment is typically pretty easy. Like, it's like, okay, well, we make water and we sell water at gas stations, and this is our consumer. And it's like, okay, yeah, great, we got it. Well, there's this last 10% of alignment where things get a little bit more into focus, and we have to make some real decisions that is really, really hard. And it's so easy to leave that last 10% undone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the 10% that grows and grows and grows and grows over time.
Makes total sense.
And so you have to really, really fight for that full level of alignment. And you have to actively fish for misalignment. Like you need to, like, if you have a semi-annual partnership retreat, which is a great idea, by the way, of some sort, okay, you need to not just say, are we aligned? Yeah, okay, great, we're aligned. You need to go, we need to like spend 15 minutes brainstorming places we're not aligned, like specifically looking for places we're not aligned.
I like that.
That's good.
I want to go back to one thing, though, if we can. Back on this coaching thing, and you're saying people need to understand the context. I mean, I'll be honest with you that I feel very skeptical of most coaches.
You should.
Most of them have been through some kind of training class. I know one individual, for example, who's a, quote, life coach.
Yeah.
And this person has had a series of failed relationships through their entire life.
Yeah.
They've never built any kind of a career success.
Yeah.
Okay. And now at whatever age, let's say, advanced age, they've become a life coach, and they're going to go out there and tell me how to live my life or how to be more successful in business. Get real.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of business owners feel like if the coach hasn't been as successful as they have been in business, they don't have any credibility with them.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think it's a great question. I'm going to maybe nuance a little bit my answer. So level one is I completely agree. Like I'm telling you guys, I get calls every single week of people who want to become coaches who haven't
I believe
been
it.
in the marketplace.
Sure.
And done big work.
You haven't done 7 years as a therapist.
That's right. Well,
Yeah.
or
I mean, that is
sat on a leadership team.
Yeah.
right. And
Of a
startups.
business that grew from 25 million to 150 million in 5 years.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or participated in 4 startups. So
Yes, I agree.
so like, yes, it's real.
We just
Now,
eliminated 98% of them right there. 99%.
I will say there are some really good coaches who don't have the experience you would expect. I mean, like I've got a coach I've got a CEO in my portfolio right now. We're a year and a half in to a year-long engagement. Okay. So we've
extended.
He's a happy client.
Sure.
Okay. And he is running a $750 million business in Los Angeles, California that is backed by private equity money. I've never done that.
Yeah.
Sure.
I haven't done that. So here's my nuance to that. Yes, the experience matters and you got to have it. You got to have some level of it. But there's also this level of like serious training and really getting into the science and art of being a coach, where I can sit down with him and I haven't sat in his seat, but I can prove to him that I've developed enough skills as a coach to be the coach that comes along the guy that's sitting in that seat. And there is some skill.
No, I believe that. I mean, I've been a management consultant since 1980, and I've worked with CEOs and founders, of architecture and engineering firms all over. Certainly, some of them were much bigger than my own company.
Yes,
That's right. That's right.
So I believe that you can make that
Absolutely.
transition. And if you have credibility and sensibility.
But you have to. That's only for the coaches that are taking really serious the work.
I got another question for you, though. What's the difference in, well, I think I know what's sort of conventional wisdom is about the difference in a coach versus a consultant. You know, the consultant tells you what to do. The coach is supposed to like pull it out of you. Is that your thought process or no?
I hear that exact line pretty often.
Yeah.
I don't love it.
I don't either.
So here's how I would describe it. Like, if you're the CEO of a hospital system, or let me pick a more relevant example for our audience today. If you're the CEO of a $25 million home services company, right?
Sure.
And you're going, you know what? I need help on this industry specific topic. Go get a consultant. That's what a consultant does. If you're like, I've got this really hyper specific industry level problem that I can't solve.
HVAC marketing.
That's right. Yeah. Like go.
I'm just throwing.
I don't want to help you with that. So don't call if that's what you need. Don't call.
I got it.
But I don't think that a really good coach is just pulling answers out of you.
Thank you.
We say all the time, there's four things that we provide for every client engagement. Number one is useful strategy, outside perspective, measured accountability, and energizing hope. That's our four. We're doing those. Useful strategy and outside perspective. You better believe I am bringing some ideas, some best practices, some fresh thinking to the table, and that's going to be on strategic topics. That's going to be on leadership topics. That's going to be on things about your P&L. Like we're getting into that. So there are times where I'm going to let some space sit and let some, let a client do a little bit of self-discovery. But there are also times when I'm going to come straight in and be like, this is a mistake.
Yeah.
You need to go do this. And that art, whether we're talking about, small business owners who are managing and leading others, or a coach who's working with a client, that art of knowing when to lean in and when to lean out is a big, big part of the coaching posture and leadership posture as well. Like knowing when to go, hey, I'm just going to be directive here and everybody needs to hear that.
Yeah.
Or, hey, I'm going to let some of the more open space play out.
So I want to put it in kind of a really practical scenario from my experience. And this is a good dialogue because I've never really looked into a coach or consultants. I've experienced consultants, but I've never really looked into a coach. But there are a lot of times as a business owner that I'm like, who do I trust?
Yeah.
Because everyone around you, their opinion is what I mean. Not like them as a person, but like as their opinion, their advice or direction. And there's a lot of times as an entrepreneur, I feel very isolated in like, does anybody have a motive to give me an answer that's objective and for the good of the business?
Yep.
Is that what I'm kind of looking at with a coach, is somebody that's in that is in my circle of basically trusting that the advice that I get or a directive and what I liked about what you said just a second ago is don't do this, do this, because that's for the good of the whole versus the good of any one person. I mean, is that a good way to kind of put that?
Yeah, I think so. Now look, even us, sure motive coaches are sending an invoice at the end of the month.
Sure,
so
right.
Our motives are not completely pure.
That's fair.
But no doubt, I think one of the things that's really, really important there, yes, it is unbelievable the isolating weight that a founder or a CEO at any level of business is feeling. I mean, I tell people all the time, we talk about an org chart just comes down like this. Don't forget, a lot of times it also goes up, right, to an ownership group or a board, or
right?
Like that. And the pitch point, it's either the pinnacle or the pitch point. Every single time is that founder or CEO who's leading. So
and I think not to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
I think just in support of what you're saying, even if you don't have outside owners, of which I've had companies where I was the majority owner, I had other owners, and I started it and didn't have any private equity or anything, you still feel like it's not all yours. I mean, you've got all these other partners. You got to please them.
Yeah.
If you don't, they leave or they have an insurrection.
That's right.
You've got customers or clients out there. You got to take care of them. And you got your employees out there, which, they all have free will too. So it's like nobody can just operate with impunity.
That's right.
If you're smart.
Man, I tell you, like, here's what's, there was a period in my career, it was a number of years ago, to where, like, I was facing literally I tell people for a 6-month period on a daily basis, I was facing life and death decisions of the business every day. There was something coming up. I mean, I had culture draining, but yet at the same time invigorating. I had really great folks and really bad folks. I was making massive decisions about the direction of the company. I had no partner. It was, And by the way, the cash wasn't working, the revenue wasn't coming in, or I'd have a big job, have to execute it. I mean, there was just so much going on this period. And I remember going, I don't have anyone to talk to.
Yeah.
That doesn't, like, if you talk to your spouse, you scare the shit out of your spouse.
Yep.
Right.
If you talk to your employees, it just further exasperates the freaking, the negative culture and all the fears of everybody, like, about their jobs, and when really everybody needs to come together, put the ship and go, and that's all I was trying to do. It wasn't, I had lost any hope of my own personal income and financial security. Like, that was on the complete brink. Like, I was riding on the edge, Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then of course you have reputation and all these things, there's just like failure staring at you in the face. Right. And I think that period, and when I've talked to other entrepreneurs, they have lived that. Yeah. Right. And you're in this dark area of who do you talk to?
Yeah.
Because it's almost like you can't even talk to mentors. I couldn't call Mark because Mark, when you look down on me and
pass
see me
judgment on you,
you would pass total judgment on me, right? But that may not be truth,
right?
But that is how you feel in that moment.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Part of the for founders, no doubt, it's an isolating space. No one in their world understands all the different aspects of family, financials, decisions, managing down. Oh, by the way, trying to manage myself a little bit too, to make sure I don't drive this ship off the.
That's right. Yeah, 100%.
We're coaching, but the problem with coaching is you can't pay somebody a monthly retainer to just come in and be the person that you can be low. Like, they've also got to drive value for the business.
Yeah.
A great coach has got to do both of those things. They've got to be able to come in and actually be helpful to drive bottom line value for the business, and come in and be that person that goes, hey, I'm not trying to say I know exactly what it's like to be you, but I would imagine that when you tapped that line of credit to make payroll this month because you're waiting on that big invoice to be paid, and oh, by the way, that line of credit's secured against your house, and Your spouse may kill you if she knows that you've tapped it again. Like,
Yeah.
okay, like
Then you get some credibility with
so,
it. That's where you bridge that gap you were talking about.
absolutely.
Yeah, I get it. I mean,
Absolutely.
that makes total sense.
Yeah.
That's good dialogue.
You know, I don't want to go sidetrack too much, but I was a leader of one of these groups of business people who get together. I won't name the brand.
Yeah.
Okay. And it was all, you know, and I think there were some really good aspects of it.
Yeah.
Meaning, so somebody like Eric is talking about like, who's he going to go to? When you've got like 8 or 10 or 12 other business owners together at a table and they have no vested interest in your business whatsoever, they can sort of function as your board and catharsis, you know, a lot. Cathartic experience, sharing your problems with them, you know, that they also have. But at the same time, you know, there were other aspects of those groups that I think are really bad.
Yeah.
Like they're always trying to sell their members something.
Yeah.
Okay. There's always a program they want you to sign them up for.
Yeah.
There's always an outside speaker who's got something that they're selling.
Yeah.
And that's a real negative. So, you know, but I will say that a lot of people who are in those groups, they would go back and forth between being part of a group, having a coach, doing that for a while, then going back to a group, doing that for 2 or 3 years, and going back to a coach.
Yeah.
Do you see that?
Yeah. I mean, you know, I say this with fondness, not judgment. Some people are content junkies.
Yes, they are.
People are just like,
I call them management junkies, but
like they got to have they read the new book and they got to implement that strategy in their business. And they met a guy at their Vistage group and they got to implement the
EOS is the savior of every single thing. Okay.
Of the entire world.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
No doubt.
Drives me insane.
Yeah.
But I know exactly what you're saying.
And so
it's like 1 out of 10. If there's 10 owners in the company, one of them's going to be one of those junkies.
And by the way, if you've ever worked for one of those people before, it is professional whiplash.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're going this way, and then they read the new book. And
you're swimming with the sharks today, and then you're getting the right people on the bus, and then you got a blue oceans, whatever.
But then, we also have on the other end of that spectrum,
1 minute managing.
We've got the maverick who's never letting anybody into the circle.
Yeah,
like that's the other end of that spectrum.
Yeah,
I'm over here, and I'm going to do my thing, and whatever happens is going to happen, and I'm charging the dadgum hill, and you guys better be coming with me. So.
Right.
There is another end of that spectrum too. But yeah, we see people move in and out of that. Look, I am extremely fortunate to be a few years into my practice where I'm not begging for clients anymore.
Sure.
Like I'm not scraping the barrel looking for clients anymore. And I'm really it becomes this really weird momentum thing happens in coaching when all of a sudden you can be a little more selective of your client and go, this person needs help. They know they need help. And I can actually be the one that could help them.
Sure.
Now, all of a sudden, there's some serious momentum happening here where they're going to have a better experience. I'm going to have more confidence. I'm going to deliver more value. Like a lot of good can happen there. And so, that's a nice place to be as a coach where I'm seeking out clients that I know I can help.
Sure.
Yeah. So, Bing, can you give us some, for the listeners, right? Like, you got an entrepreneur that's listening to this. What are some of the values from a coach standpoint, right? And you said the good analogy about consulting, very, from a consulting arrangement, very isolated, very niche, very specific task. But if they have greater needs, what are some examples, tactical examples that you could give so that they could say, oh, I actually might need a coach. It's enlightening for me too. I don't know if I need a coach.
Yeah. So there's a lot. We help, we work on, let me give a little bit of overview of how
Please.
Work that'll help me answer that question. So we try to isolate 5 to 10 really specific things that a client wants help with. Mm-hmm. So that might be something strategic in the business. It might be something with the P&L. It might be leadership, management. It might be like a long range vision or dream. I want to sell my business, or I want this to lifestyle for the next 3 decades, whatever. But we're going to isolate 5 to 10 things, and then we're going to work really, really hard on those things. So because of that, we get into a lot of different things. Like we do not have cookie cutter. It is not EOS or working genius. Like, here's the playbook. Just go run that. It's all real custom. But I will give one thing particularly relevant for your listeners. When I talk to small business folks, the number one thing that I'm interested in is, do you have line of sight to the business creating the outputs that you actually want? Now, I'm not saying you got to be there today. Like, sometimes the small business journey is a dumpster fire, and you got to go through the dumpster fire, right?
Yeah.
But like, do you have line of sight? Can you see, can you see the exit that you're chasing? Like, is it real? Is it out there? Or can you see the business funding the lifestyle that you want to see? Or can you see yourself, time, like the number one, not the number one thing, but something that you hear all the time is, well, we're just really busy right now. I'm like, yeah, that's what we've all been saying the last 30 years, right? So like, if you're telling me you actually want it, like, it's important that the business that you've put your entire financial, all your money, all your risk on the line for,
Your identity. Your very identity. Yeah.
You actually, and you're telling me I want to own a business because eventually I want to get some of my time and flexibility back. Do you actually have line of sight to that? Like, is that a real potential outcome right now or not?
Yeah.
And a lot of times the real answer to that is no. I have a dream, but I don't actually have a line of sight to it. And so a lot of times what we'll do, particularly with small business owners, is say, here's current state. Here's where we are today. Let's get really real about that. Here's the P&L. Here's the team. Frank sucks. I need to fire him. I've known that for a year and a half.
Exactly.
Whatever. Like, here's the nitty gritty of the present state.
Yes.
And here's the actual, like, what is that
the desired state?
Yeah. What is that future state? And maybe it's 3 years away. Maybe it's 10 years away.
Sure.
Whatever. But like, what is that desired state? What do we have line of sight to, and what are we not? And if we don't have line of sight, we better get serious about creating some pathways to have that line of sight. Now, those lines of sight, they may go into strategic initiatives. They may go into a decision to kill one part of an offering and start a new part of an offering. They may have, it may be, I need to make a $200,000 investment so that I can, like, whatever. But that's something we see a lot of, particularly with small business owners, is creating line of sight to future state.
It's interesting.
You just said something I think is interesting. You said whether your goal is to have this exit at some point or to create a business that funds a certain lifestyle for a long time in the future. I guess my experience is that the second one is extremely difficult to do. And
what's the second?
The second one is build a business that funds a lifestyle for 30 years into the future.
Just cash flowing, profits out of it.
That I think a lot of people have that idea about their business, their small business, that they're going to start this thing. They're going to get it to a certain point where it makes a lot of money. They're going to step back out of it. It's just going to churn out money for them. Okay. I think that is so unlikely. And in fact, I think it's a disservice to most people to allow them to think that that's even a realistic possibility.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think it's a really fair push, because I think, look, if we just surveyed 100 small business owners in their experience over the last decade, the number who have ended in that state is going to be extremely small.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really, really fair push. I do think, look, it's never this clean. It's never this easy. But if you can go into the journey and know that that's what you're aiming at, and that it influences a lot of early decisions, like let's go back to the partnership.
Right.
if you want a lifestyle, if you want the business to fund your lifestyle, don't get a partner, because now it's funding. You just put a lot of pressure on the P&L. It's got to fund 2 lifestyles, not 1. It's a lot easier to fund 1 lifestyle than 2.
And that's assuming that the partner is aligned to that same exit plan.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. So I do,
or a lack of exit plan.
Right.
Yeah.
if you do have some vision from the very, very early stage and can influence decisions as you go, it is a ambition worth chasing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at the same time, I've got a client right now that's in home services. He has they do about $12 million of revenue a year, and they're doing profit around like 1.5 million. So not really nice little business.
Sure.
But consolidation's happening in his industry like crazy.
Sure.
Like crazy. I mean, it's just everybody is buying or being
All this
bought.
Private equity money chasing,
No doubt about
banding
it.
all these little companies together.
No doubt about it. And so his vision, it's a family business. He's second generation. It's been in the family for 30 years. And he's like, I want it to fund our family for another 30 years. And I looked at him a couple months ago and I said, I don't know that that's going to be an option that's on the table for you.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that you're going to be able to exist as this independent organization in an industry that is getting consolidated like crazy. And so sometimes you may even set out and be one of the few that does everything right and still lose that opportunity. Now, if that happens to him, he's going to get a nice check and he'll be okay. Like, I'm not super worried about it.
Yeah.
But it could be very real.
This game makes a lot of sense. I'm impressed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that, this
Skeptical about coaches coming.
Exactly. Dude, I am.
I'm slight redemption of my industry.
I'm
Slight.
Yeah. Well, you're not. I mean, what you do really isn't much. I mean, I hate to be the word,
Can I speak to that real quick, though?
Yeah.
I should give a ton of credit to my mentor there. So my mentor is a guy named Steve Graves. You guys have probably heard of Steve. He's a local guy. Steve taught me to be a coach. And that's a message for a lot of great coaches, is don't just go hang your shingle. Like, you get somebody that knows what the heck they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Who's been successful. Yeah.
Who's been successful.
Right.
So
I
not
agree.
only did I have some industry experience, but man, then I had a mentor who taught me how to do it. And
That's helpful.
And I've made plenty of mistakes, both in my time in organizations and in businesses, and even as a coach. But having a mentor to kind of pull me along has been really helpful.
Ready to level up your show? At podcastvideos.com, we offer industry-leading recording and expert marketing to help your show reach more listeners. From creation to distribution, we've got you covered. Visit podcastvideos.com and elevate your podcast today.
I guess what I was going to say is I don't want to split hairs over the terminology, but what you're doing in my mind is the same thing that, let's say, I did as a management consultant at a high level.
Yeah.
I don't see much difference in it. You call it whatever you want.
Yeah, sure.
But obviously you got to get into the people and their motivations and what the desired end state is and all these things that you've mentioned. And I don't know why it is that people don't like the word consultant today. I mean, it's like every consultant now is an advisory firm. Okay. I mean, it drives me crazy.
Consultant became a dirty word at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, back on what we were talking about with the small business owners and all. I mean, what do you think about, I mean, is it viable to say, we just want to be small and highly profitable as an organization and go on like that for a long time? I mean, is that really viable? I guess I keep coming back to this idea that who good wants to work in that company? If you told me that your company is like, Mark, you can come to work for me as a young, highly motivated person, but we're never going to have more than 8 or 10 people, and I'll never sell you the company. I'm going to turn it over to my daughter. Why would I want to work there?
Highly ambitious people are probably not applying.
Why would I want to work in that environment? I mean, it just seems like a lot of business owners, they're so myopic and they want what they want.
Yeah.
And they can't look at it more objectively and say, who's going to want to be part of this thing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you ever give that talk to people?
It's a great question. I do think it's possible. I do think that slice is really is quite thin and takes an extraordinary amount of strategy and discipline. Let me give a small example. And this is like, I'm kind of shooting from the hip here. So
Sure, it's okay.
I mean, if this isn't fully fleshed
It's okay.
out.
Our entire show is shooting.
Yeah,
Perfect. Then I should feel right.
we shoot from the hip. Yeah.
My wife would tell you I'm best when shooting from the hips. When I aim, that thing.
That's right.
It's like shooting skeet. You like that? Try.
Yeah,
Just
absolutely.
kind of point. Yeah.
So going back to your example of your business and the guy that doesn't want to grow it and he's going to pass it to his daughter. Look, this is an extreme example, but like the type of strategy it takes to make something like that work is to go, so here's how I'm going to account for that in my business plan. I'm going to have a catch and release talent strategy.
Yeah.
And instead of panicking when good people leave, I'm going to celebrate and even market that they left so that the next young, ambitious person that comes along and knows this, they can't take over my business and it's not going to grow to be 50 people. It's going to go, but
At least it's a good stepping stone.
that's right.
Yeah, but that's an interesting point.
But that's the, like,
Never thought about that, but you're right.
know what you're designing for.
Yeah.
You've got to design on purpose like crazy. And look, most of us are so dadgum busy fighting the fires of today that it's really hard to pull out and do some of that, invent the future work around that kind of design. And look, I'm not going to stump for myself too hard, but that's where coaches come in and can be really helpful.
Yeah.
Is by helping you find some of that design stuff.
It's like a founder, okay, so that's your goal as a founder, but your responsibility as a founder is to think about what does that impact mean? And you have to be realistic with yourself and strategize about that, because you can't have a company without other people.
That's right.
You know?
Absolutely.
I mean, and you got to be able to, to accommodate that.
If you're going to take some things, what are you going to give?
Yes.
It's got to
Yes.
It's got to balance.
It's like, I hear it all the time. It's like, we don't have any good people. There's no good people out there. Well, what do you do for your people? Well, nothing. We pay a minimum wage. We have no benefits. There's no bonus program.
Yeah.
There's no open book management. There's no shared business planning. You wonder why you have crappy people?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean,
Hey, so Steve Graves always says, every organization is perfectly designed to get the results it gets.
yeah,
It's a haunting phrase.
I like that. That's a great phrase.
Every organization is perfectly designed to get the results it gets. It's a haunting phrase, but it can also be a hopeful phrase, because the subplot there is, if we change the design,
Yes.
we can change the output.
Yes.
But changing the design is stinking hard. Like you have to pull away from, the tyranny of the urgent.
yes.
Step back and go, I'm going to spend even more time and money now
Yes.
to change the design that's not going to play out tomorrow, next week, or help me make
And I got to survive the working capital.
That's right.
The cost of that.
Absolutely.
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
So I got a question. I'm going to get some free advice on the show.
Good.
Yeah. So my perspective is a little bit different in what I do with my business. Like, my goal is to exit. It's to get a check at the end, right?
Yep.
That's my goal
Yep.
in the business. The people that work for me, they know that's my goal. That's our goal collectively.
Yep.
And so
They will benefit.
they will benefit.
Yes.
And to that point, okay, so we may not be making, you may not have this ladder step of big corporation where you're constantly making more and more money, but you do have a chance to get a part of the check,
Yep.
right, at the end. And so that's our motivation and work towards. What I see that happens, and here's my frustrating point, I, as a founder, can see that vision every freaking time I wake up.
Well, you've done
To the
it.
time I go to bed, and every decision that's made in this company, and every single nook and cranny, I'm like, how? And here's where I get frustrated as a founder. I'm like, how in the hell can you not see what you're doing? How do you come to work?
Yep. Yep.
And you have, this is our motivation.
Was
This
there
is where we're
yesterday.
going. Like, how can you not see your decision to do it, this process this way, is going to never, ever, ever get us to the scale we need to go to?
Exactly.
How do I, as a founder, or as a business owner, continuously enlist that vision. Like, you do not understand the compound interest that you have on your time today that will get us to that level. When you don't do these things, it impacts everybody's paycheck at the end. Like, it's not me you're fighting against. You're fighting against your own negativity. You bring that in the company. You're lazy. You're tired. You're exhausted. So is everybody else. But if you can just see something and know that every time you spend an hour in this company, you're multiplying your return on your investment. How do you get that point across to the company?
Three things come to mind.
God, thank God.
Number one is hire the right people.
Okay.
Like, crazy. Like, I mean, and I'm not saying you've hired the wrong people.
Right.
I'm saying,
No,
like,
I agree.
Like, you
it starts right there.
And you have to scrape for that mentality in the hiring process.
Okay, so in that, how do you interview for that? How do you know that person's the right one?
Yeah, you'd have to give me a little, like, if a client asks me that question, I'm going to do some homework and some preparation. Okay. But you need to design for scraping for ownership mentality.
Okay.
Not going to be easy, but it is possible. Okay. I mean, look, I used to work for an egg company. we had people come in and try to sell eggs. Like, you want to sell eggs? Come sell eggs. Like, I mean, we got pretty creative with our interview process.
Okay.
So that's one piece. The second would be obviously vision casting, and I'm sure you're doing a ton of that, but as quantifiable as we can make the future potential check, as much vision as we can cast for what that day is going to be like, and doing that pretty often.
And I think the repetition of that
is...
I'm often worried about, is it too much? Like, a lot of times I'll talk and they call it the Eric soapbox, or you got Eric. There's literally a verb that they titled it. The team. You got Eric. But a lot of times I'm talking and I want to keep talking, but I quit because I can just see the freaking
eyes glancing over.
Oh yeah. Hey, you got to be bold. You got to be brilliant. You got to be going. Okay, man. Like, we got to be fast, Eric. Okay.
Okay.
So
fair.
We probably need to shorten that message up a little bit then.
And then what's the third thing?
Here's the third thing, and this is the one that sucks. It may not matter.
Damn it.
Because here's the deal. Are you mad or are you happy?
No, I'm agreeing.
Okay, great. I didn't know, Mark. I was worried.
No, it's a sad reality.
It is a sad reality. And I learned this the hard way. I was doing some compensation planning for a company that I worked for one time, and we had, salary benefits, short-term bonus plan, and then long-term incentive plan. And we spent a ton of time and money on a long-term incentive plan for a big company that was going to exit. And we put the number in front of people 3 times a year. If we sell in 2 years at this amount, here's your check.
Right. Yeah, really being specific.
Meaningful
sure.
numbers.
Life-changing money.
Big meaningful numbers. Like, go pay your home off. Like,
right.
Like,
sure.
Big meaningful numbers. And at the end of the day, what we found was people would leave the job for a different role where they were going to make 20% more salary.
Yeah, or 10%.
And it like there are it
and with no glory.
And with no glory.
No honor.
Yes, exactly.
It's a mentality, it's a mindset, it's a unique person.
Sure.
To stay latched onto that vision. And not everybody has it. And you can't build a team full of people. Like, there's not enough of them. You can't build a team full of people. I hope your team's not listening. I'm sure you guys are all great. Look,
they will be listening. I require them to listen to Victor. I'm just kidding.
But there are
they should.
It's just not that's not how everybody's wired. And at the end of the day, and look, I actually want to defend the person a little bit. Like, there are some people that just their life is oriented around different things, and that's okay. But they need to.
Is it okay, man? It's not okay. May not be okay for me, though.
But they need
as their employer.
But they need to know who they are, and more importantly, we need to know who they are.
Yeah,
that's fair.
No, you're right. Hey, wow, this has really been a great discussion, and I'm very impressed with Ben's insight and thought process. So if anybody wants to get a hold of you, how do they do so?
Easiest, well, this is going to be ironic given our pregame conversation. The easiest way is to shoot me a note on LinkedIn.
No problem.
Just don't start with,
hi,
Ben, how was your day?
Yeah.
Be really clear.
Right. Just don't try to sell Ben anything.
Because I'm not buying.
Because we're all getting those.
or you can go check out our website, cornerstoneco.com, and you can find me pretty easy there. I'm not too hard to find.
In closing, what is one piece of advice that you would give to an entrepreneur, in just a quick snippet? All right, here's the case. If I'm in a large corporation, I have had a dream to start a company. I can't decide whether I want to take the step or not, but I'm miserable here, and I see happiness, or at least glory and honor, strength and honor in starting my own business.
Yeah.
What's your advice?
So 2 different pieces of advice, one for somebody that might make the jump and one for somebody that's already in the journey. So for somebody that might make the jump, if you've had the nagging dream and it's not going anywhere, take the daggum risk. Go do it. Go for it. If you've had a fleeting, half serious, half baked thought, keep your day job. Okay. You don't need to go do it. But if this is real and it's deep in you, take the jump.
The need.
Go do it. So that's number one.
We like that.
Number 2, for the person that's in the journey, I'm gonna steal from my own world. To thine own self be true.
Mm-hmm.
To thine own self be true. Mm-hmm. If you're in the entrepreneurial journey, be really real with yourself about where you're at in the journey. Where's the business going? Is it producing the life for you that you actually want? Do you have line of sight to where you're trying to go in the future? Are you losing too much outside of work? Are you content with where you're just be really freaking real with yourself about where the business is, and find somebody that you can share that with. Whether that's a mentor, somebody else that's on the entrepreneurial journey, or a coach, whatever. Find somebody that you can get into that a little bit with.
It's great.
That's good.
Well, this has been a lot of fun.
It has been.
Hey, thanks for taking a risk and let me jump on the show with you guys. I appreciate it.
We really appreciate your being here. It's been great. So until next week.
I'm so nervous about the sign off, guys. I've been worried about this since the beginning.
You should have been.
You can do it.
I'm going to do my best. I'm trying to float.
I want to show you the hope. Wasn't that one of the
energizing hope, man? I got to read you some energizing hope.
You can do it, Ben. I know.
Come on.
So until next week, this has been another episode of Big Talk About Small Business.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Big Talk About Small Business. If you have any questions or ideas for upcoming shows, be sure to head over to our website, www.bigtalkaboutsmallbusiness.com, and click on the Ask the Host button for the chance to have your questions answered on the show. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn at Big Talk About Small Business. And be sure to head over to our website to read articles, browse episodes, and ask questions about upcoming shows.